Machine. I wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a coding gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, and if I lose the fight, I still rage against the I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. Simple, dear, I'll still be here when you're gone. You gather souvenirs, but I will never be your pawn, your pawn, your pawn. My love was in ever again. I lay
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Redmondberry, welcome. Dan Anonymously, welcome, welcome. Terrible Tuesday. Yeah, I feel like it's probably going to be the theme for the next 4 years. So, you know, here we are. Better here, though. Yeah. We need more people on the left who know how to fix things. That's true. I work in an auto shop with a bunch of fascist sympathizers. I'm sorry to hear that. All right, folks, let's get 3 weeks into the catastrophe, or is it 4? It feels like it's a whole it feels like it's been a whole year. But in reality, it's only been 3 weeks. This is like the beginning of week 3, if I'm correct. 2.5 weeks. Okay. Echo Resto Dragon, welcome. All right, folks, we got a few things to cover, and then I got to get out of here. Tomorrow, just a couple of announcements before we get into it. Tomorrow there will be no stream because I will be at the planned protests that are happening in around the country. If you don't know, tomorrow there's going to be an attempt at mass demonstrations in every state, including Puerto Rico. Most of the protests are happening at the state capitals. So just check if you're planning to go. But from my understanding, it is happening at each state capital. I'll put up the social media on Blue Sky. I'll bring it up in just a sec before we get started. Had to finish watching Franny. She had Emma on and didn't watch all of it, though. That's cool. Nice. That probably was a pretty freaking good conversation. Quick thank you to 5th Gen IW for the offline follow. I appreciate that. Folks, if you want to support the channel, there are many ways of doing so. If you're on the YouTube, keep hitting that like button. I see you guys. Thank you. And subscribe on the YouTube. Actually, quite a handful of you have subscribed on the YouTube. We went to 258 subscribers on YouTube, so that's awesome. That is a phenomenal way of supporting the channel. Also, if you want to keep up with the channel, join the Discord. That's probably the best way to get any updates on the channel. And subscribe to the Substack. And if you want to support the channel directly, there's the merch store and the tip. You can support the channel directly. All right, folks, let's get started because today we're gonna just zoom on by. Okay, I'm gonna zoom on by. Let's do this. Oh, right. Before we get started, let me pull up the the thing I was talking about. This is what I'm talking about. The 5051 movement, it is attempting to organize mass protests around the country in each state. So this is, I'll post the link if you want to check it out later. This is the link here. 5051 is a decentralized rapid response to the anti-democratic, destructive, and in many cases illegal action being undertaken by the Trump administration. Can I count on the senator support us by their person or sharing or elevating our movement, tagging that senator? In any case, yeah. Check where it is in your state. Most of these protests are being organized at the state capitol. So if you're able to go, please practice protest safety. And if you're not able to go, spread the word, folks. Spread the word. It helps. It helps. Most of these protests are happening around noon at the state capitol. I posted the Hoyosi Instagram video in the Discord. I need to watch it. Seen all the clips. That's probably a good idea. I need to sit down and watch it because supposedly it is actually really good. From like the small peek that I got from the Discourse, because she just put it on Blue Sky, I think. And it seems like it was pretty freaking good. How come it's... Oh, here. What is the nature of the protest? It's an anti-Trump protest. It's an anti-fascist protest. It is an Project 2025 protest. So it's in response to, well, the Trump administration. There's so much bad right now. I don't know where to start. You're right. It's just like a general, like, it is a general, like, hey, this has gone too far. We need to organize, and we need to show that we will not, that we exist, that we the people are here, and we won't stand for this.
All right. 20K on, let's talking about it. All right. So, first things first. One of the things that I want you all to understand is that if you are watching the news right now.
Michael Hasser, welcome.
And you are feeling overwhelmed by all of the constant headlines and development.
There's so much bad right now, I don't know where to start. Locally. Yeah, that's an excellent response. I found the local Democrats where I am, and I'm going to start there. Yeah. Yeah.
And what is happening, and federal government changes over here, and ICE raids over here, and plane crashes over there, and you are feeling so overwhelmed. First of all, know that you are not alone. And second of all, know that that is exactly what this administration is trying to get you to feel. They are trying to get people to feel, and someone said Musk, yeah, you got Elon Musk raiding the federal government and the Treasury. There's all this stuff going on, and it is so easy, and it's natural when you see all of this stuff falling apart to get paralyzed because all of it is so overwhelming and you don't know what to do about it. but it's also very pressing information. And so you know it's going to affect your life or the life of people that you know, but what do you do about it? What is Congress doing about it? What's our leadership doing about it? The first order of business is to self-regulate. What authoritarian regimes try to do is that they often try to, what is known as flood the zone, do so much at once, or try to do so much at once that it gets carried in the news, that you feel overwhelmed and paralyzed. And it's important for you to understand.
Yeah, just to be clear, like that was Steve Bannon's words, not hers. That's literally what he said. I'm so mad at the Democrats right now. This is their party's fault. In part, yeah, it is. Not only did they fail, just like electorally, to win the election against Donald Trump, which is pretty freaking sad and aggravating. That's a thing that happened. It's also just kind of like the way that they handled this campaign, and I think that they don't get it. They don't get it. This is serious. This is serious. And I think that they don't get it because they think that it's not bad, because the party, like the upper echelons of the party, is probably not going to feel the consequences of what is happening right now. So we have a deeply out of touch opposition party, that managed to fumble this election, and here we are. Well, they fumbled both. They fumbled 2016 and they fumbled this one for no reason. Like, this shouldn't have been a loss for the Democratic Party.
The paralysis and shock that you feel right now is the point. They are trying to induce a state of passivity among the general public. So it is of personal importance for you, and it is also of political importance to take a breath. That does not mean tune out. That does not mean get apathetic. It does not mean, to just that you just have to forget or whatever. It just means take a breath, because we are about to lock in and focus. And I already know you. I already hear you all. How do I focus? What do I do?
Kamala's not talking now. Yeah, not a single word, at all, actually, from her.
Just take the breath first, okay? Take the breath first. Now, let's talk about all the different things that are going on. And again, a little bit of a preview of how do you say, a little bit of a preview of what the answer is that we are going to have to divide and conquer, okay? So no, you as one human being.
They tried to cater to Republicans and it failed. Yep, and that was stupid. Yep. Ladybug, welcome. Hello, howdy.
Are not going to be able to appoint a new FAA administrator that Elon Musk forced out. You and you as an individual are not going to be able to tackle the FAA crisis, tackle the OPM crisis, tackle like all of these things at once. Go, ICE, immigration, criminal, all of this stuff, and that's okay. Pick some of the things and trust that when we have mass mobilization, we are going to be addressing these things. Do what you can. That's the second principle, okay? Do what you can. You do not, and what you can do is enough, okay? Do what you can, and what you can do is enough. That's principle number 2. Now, and again, what can we? I'm going to get there. Relax. Take a breath. We're going to get there. What is going on is so comprehensive, and I want to make sure that I'm giving you all as comprehensive an overview.
Yeah, vote red even if it makes you dead. A lot of people did.
As I can, so we can figure out, and you can have the tools to figure out how to lock in and how to mobilize. So that's number 1 and number 2. Now, someone said I should make a handbook. Maybe we will. Now, let's talk about a couple of things. I want to give an overview as to what is happening right now.
Hey, ADT, I hope you're feeling all right. During these difficult times, I have problems with AOC because of the Palestine issue.
Donald Trump,
Well, that's an issue across the board, let me tell you.
as we saw, was inaugurated several weeks ago. And who you saw
A couple
behind
weeks
him
ago.
mattered.
Not
The
several.
people who stood behind
I know
Donald
it feels like a
Trump
lot.
at his inauguration are some of the people that are playing a major role in upholding and supporting what is going on. That is important to know because we need to know who are the folks that are responsible. And as we all saw, when Donald Trump was sworn in, he had several billionaires standing.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think we're all quite well aware of what the problem is, right? I think we're all keenly aware of what the issue is. Yeah.
Behind him. He had, of course, Elon Musk. He had Jeff Bezos. He had Mark Zuckerberg. You also had the CEOs of major corporations like TikTok and Apple, etc. These are people who are taking part in their own way, the same way that I'm telling you all to kind of divide and conquer. They are also dividing and conquer. They're acting very strategically, and they are each playing their own.
Yeah, what she's talking about, this is like a long roundabout way of saying like the billionaire class is incredibly united because they are, they understand the concept of class consciousness, and they are they're keenly aware of class consciousness and the need to stick together and operate as one to enact their agenda.
Role, right? So the way that they're playing their own role, we can each be playing our own role. All right? Now, everyone's like, all this stuff. I'm going to tell you all right now, if you cannot lock in for this comprehensive conversation, there's no like BuzzFeed, TikTok, 5 tips to dismantling fascism. We got to lock in, okay? This is a lock-in conversation. So
They all came multiple times. But,
maybe people will be making TikTok compilations after this. Feel free, etc. But I have a lot here that I need to download to you all. All right. So a lot of you are asking about Elon. What do we do? What is, and that is the right question to be asking, because what Donald Trump has done is that he has completely given up his power and handed a lot of it over to Elon Musk. Elon Musk has appointed some teenagers.
Like literally like young people who are just out of high school, right? I think the youngest one was like 19, okay, as far as I can tell, that has been given access to incredibly sensitive information, right? Like there's no oversight on any of this, by the way. Republicans are delusional class climbers. Yeah, temporarily embarrassed capitalists.
and some people in their early 20s into essentially trying to raid federal government systems, including sensitive and classified information at the US Department of Treasury. They are doing this. I want to tell you their story. Their stories that they're doing this.
Yeah, Nazi a problem. Yeah.
And they're just like wholesale, as we saw, freezing federal programs. And the Trump administration tried doing this through an executive order.
Yeah, like, just to be clear, like, Congress holds the power of the purse, and, like, the whole point of doing all of this is to slowly, okay? And by slowly, I mean, like, this is week 3, so, like, I mean, maybe slowly is not the right word, but, it is to essentially make Congress obsolete, right? Because if Congress's authority doesn't exist, then, like, they're essentially just kind of there. If Congress doesn't hold the power of the purse, if the Constitution just doesn't matter and can't be upheld, then, like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we're heading. If there's no oversight, for what the executive branch is doing, then Congress effectively has no power. For all intents and purposes, they have no power. If Congress can't do their job of oversight and can't be like, hey, what's going on over here? These funds are supposed to be going to whatever programs, and we have one person dictating all of this. We're no longer talking about, like, even a farcical democracy. Like, it's not even pretend democracy. It's just fascism. When you have the richest person on the planet single-handedly dictating where the country's resources are going. Like, again, we're no longer talking about even a pretend democracy.
Freezing federal programs, freezing federal financing. That's why they went for the US Department of Treasury. They're going for the money first. They are taking data. We are also hearing preliminary reports that they are potentially.
Yeah, and, like, that's the thing. Like, who is stopping these people, right? Like, that's what I want to know. Like, where is the congressional authority? Like, if this was like any other normal freaking timeline, Donald Trump would have been impeached that day. If we would have been talking about a normal and rational and functioning government, Donald Trump would have been impeached and removed and barred from running that day. And criminal investigations would be launched into Elon Musk and through the Justice Department to see, like, what kind of how deep the shenanigans went. Because right now, I mean, we really don't know much. They're not letting federal workers in. We're kind of blind here. Bipedal Meatbag, welcome. We're at the intersection of Animal Farm, Handmaid's Tale, Idiocracy, and the Hunger Games. Yep. Let's just send them to space. Yeah, one-way ticket.
Stealing that data and downloading it for private use, which of course is alarming, okay? This moment is scary, but we need to go in eyes wide open, all right? The paralysis as a response to fear is understandable, but we have to acknowledge what's happening, and then we're gonna get somewhere, okay? They are taking access to the Treasury Department. They are firing career level federal employees. And I want you to know that there are two broad categories of federal workers.
Wolfglen, welcome. Just glad Trump doesn't like Gatorade or Taco Bell.
There are political appointees. Those are the people, as you can imagine, who are, when a president changes, when a new president is elected, whether they're a Republican or a Democrat, they can appoint a whole slew of federal workers.
Yep.
Those are known as political appointees. Then there are career professionals. These are people
You're
who
bureaucrats.
are not political. These are people who have spent 10, 20, 30, 40 years of their lives managing the administration of Medicare payments, of Social Security checks, of science research in how we find cures for diseases, from everything from cancer to diabetes, from our national energy systems. Our air traffic controllers are career professionals. They are not, a new president can't just get elected and snap their fingers and politically appoint an air traffic controller, because that requires years of training. And these are what are known as federal career workers. What is alarming about this moment, one of the things that they're doing is that they're going after money and they're going after people, okay? They're going after money there we go, sorry about that. They're going after money.
Yeah, so like that's the point though. If they can control the resources of the entire country, I mean it's kind of GG. Anyone know a stream to watch the US Treasury right now? Is there something going on there? Just Congress protesting, trying to get in? No, I don't see anything right now. I just did a quick search. Oh wait, actually.
Running a small biz takes grit and
Let me just double check this.
With the U.S. Treasury Department, and then they're going after people, which is known as OPM. You're going to be hearing OPM a lot. That's the Office of Personnel Management. And
you tell America what democracy looks like.
This is happening right now.
What does democracy look like? Well then, if we're looking at the Treasury Department, tell me what plutocracy looks like. What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
What does plutocracy look like? Well, my friends, they sent a memo to 2 million federal workers called the Fork in the Road. The Fork in the Road. Wait a second. They took the memo verbatim from what Elon Musk sent the workers at Twitter when he took over that company, and now he thinks he's taken over this company. And so he sent everybody the exact same Fork in the Road memo with the exact same subject line, Fork in the Road. My friends, the real fork in the road is between democracy and autocracy in America. That's the fork in the road. That's the fork in the road. So, we don't have a lot of time to get this right. Do you want Elon Musk controlling your parents' Social Security checks? Do you want Elon Musk controlling the flow of money to the red states or the blue states? Do you want Elon Musk controlling congressional appropriations to disaster areas around America? Are you willing to fight day and night, dawn and dusk, to fight Elon Musk and take our government back? My friends, I'm gonna leave you with the words of some great democracy patriots who we gotta keep close in our hearts. First, the great Frederick Douglass, who was born an hour away from here in the Wye River Plantation. And he became a great freedom fighter in the Civil War and through Reconstruction. And Douglass said, if there's no struggle, there's no progress. And the struggle may be moral, it may be physical, it may be moral and physical, but there must be struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has, and it never will. A message to you from the great Marylander, Frederick Douglass.
You know,
I'll leave you with the words of the great Tom Paine. You know, he came over to America in 1774. He fell in love with the promise of America. He said if this land lives up to its values and ideals, it will become an asylum to humanity, he said. Not an insane asylum, mind you. A place of refuge for people seeking.
you know, it's actually nice to see that like there's some kind of organizing going on here, because like, man, I mean, Jamie Raskin has always been one of the better Democrats, so good on him.
1776 was a tough year. Half the people are still running around saying, you can't beat kings and queens. Everybody's always lived under people like Donald Trump or Vladimir Putin or Kim Jong-un. But half of the people said no. They said, let us gamble on democratic freedom. Let's pledge to each other our sacred honor, our property, our very lives to fight for democracy and freedom, said Tom Paine. And then in 1776 he wrote a pamphlet.
Yeah, it's
to give
crazy,
people
but this is
courage and
reality.
hope. It was a tough time. The country was split, and a lot of people were caving in to the monarchs and the plutocrats. And he wrote a beautiful pamphlet called The American Crisis. I want to quote a tiny little passage for you. I'm going to update the language pursuant to instructions from Nancy Pelosi, who said Tom Paine was a feminist, and that he was. He was fighting for women's suffrage in the 18th century, just as he was fighting for abolitionism too. But he wrote this line, and he said, these are the times that try men and women's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will shrink at this moment from the service of their cause and their country. But everyone that stands with us now will win the love and the favor and the affection of every man and every woman for all time. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered, but with this saving consolation, the more difficult the struggle, the more glorious in the end will be our victory. Let's make that victory ours.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Raskin. We've got a few more folks, and we're also going to give you guys some homework, some stuff to do about this at the end. So we're going to hear from Representative Teresa Fernandez. Where are you at? Buenas noches, America. How are you tonight? How is the crowd? I am Teresa Leche Fernandez, and I represent the beautifully diverse district in Nuevo Mexico, but I am also the chair of the Democratic Women's Caucus, and women are going to war. Women are going to war. Let me tell you, I am here on behalf of the women, the mothers, the veterans, all those women who are afraid with what they're doing. Because we know that they don't want us to know what they are doing, do they? But we do know that they have been attacking women since day one. They have been attacking women since day one. They have told us that we cannot control our own body. And what do we say to that? We demand equality. We demand equality. We demand equality. They have been taking food from the mouths of babes. They have been telling military women, you cannot get the health care you deserve. No, absolutely not. And now they are telling us we cannot go in this building to find out. Well, we say, open the doors. We say, open the doors. Open the doors, because we demand the right to know what you were doing. But more importantly, we demand that you take your hands off of our money. We demand that you stop giving an unelected billionaire the right to our savings account, to our retirement account.
It's just
to our
absolute
payments.
insanity.
That's what he has. Would you invite Elon Musk or his interns into your own savings account?
Nope.
Would you ask him to come and rifle through your
Dude, I wouldn't even want Elon Musk in my Xbox Live account, okay? Like, this is actually insane that the richest person in the planet is keeping out the duly elected members of Congress out of the treasury. Out of the treasury. Nobody elected Elon Musk. And if he's going to be like a temporary government worker, and I think it was like he has like some kind of weird temporary government worker status or whatever. I think it's SGO or something like that. He is still subject to the same parameters that federal workers are. So like none of this is okay. None of this is legal. And the people that he brought in are not vetted.
Are you betraying your voters? When you don't stand up and speak out? Are you betraying your voters when you don't say no to what Trump is doing? So let me tell you, they might flood the zone, but we are going to flood the phones. We are going to flood the phones with phone calls. And we are going to call, I am calling on all women across America, call your representatives. Flood those phones. All women across America, make sure that every representative, every senator, Democrat, and especially Republican know that this will not do. This will not do. Because when women stand up, we win. When we fight back, we win. When we fight back, we win. When women speak, we war. They don't call us Mama Bear for nothing. Right? They don't call us Mama Bear for nothing. We are going to show up, we are going to fight, and we are going to be with you every step of the way. Muchísimas gracias. Hasta la victoria.
I just saw a bald eagle pick up a bloody roadkill. What an image and metaphor for what's happening now, indeed. All kinds of illegal, and no one seems to be doing anything about it. Exactly. Like that's like the most like wild part about this whole story, right? Like, okay, you know, we're watching this happen, like live, effectively, right?
Get you your money back, and we are standing in front of this building because get this weekend, an army of.
Oh.
I'm Seth from Rhode Island, and I see a whole lot of people in front of me who love America, who love our democracy, and who are ready to fight for it. Are you ready to fight for it? We are standing here with you today as representatives of the people, by the people, and for the people, and we are going to get you your money back. And we are standing in front of this building.
Just like on January 6th, I'm asking, where's the protection here?
Army of unelected, unvetted, unconfirmed, unknown children broke into this building to steal your money, steal your data, and steal our democracy.
Yeah, and I think that, like, this is the kind of language that we need to be using at all times because, like, we have absolutely no idea what these people are doing. For all we know, like, everyone's, like, social security number is compromised as it is, right? Because, like, the moment you introduce this level of security issues, like, you just have to assume that, like, it's cooked. It's all cooked. Where's the Supreme Court? Elon could be arrested for what he's doing. The Supreme Court is stacked in Donald Trump's favor by Donald Trump. Right. Like, that's kind of like the whole thing, right? Like, you know, just kind of like thinking back retroactively, the Supreme Court said that Donald Trump enjoys broad immunity, right? So, like, I don't know, man. I don't know who's going to see any consequences out of this when all of this is said and done. I don't know who's going to suffer consequences, but in a just and normal and rational scenario, all of these people would be going to jail.
Now, I just started this job. And they already got me out here in the cold. We fly 3,000 miles twice a week to put up with this foolishness. I'm not happy. My baby said, Mama, you leaving again? I said, yeah, baby. I'm a patriot. I'm a patriot. They never told me I could be a patriot, but I'm a patriot. And you're a patriot. And you're a patriot. And you're a patriot.
SCOTUS doesn't always side with Trump. I'm hoping Roberts has more sense than to go along with Trump's law breaking. Yeah, I mean, I'm not holding my breath. I'm going to be honest. One thing I've learned about this country recently is that laws mean nothing to wealthy people. Yep. There's this two-tier justice system, but not the way the Republicans think. Right. It's just like, if you're wealthy, if you're unbelievably like just obscenely wealthy, like Elon Musk, like, laws just simply don't apply to you. Right. Like, for all intents and purposes, laws don't apply to Elon Musk. Laws do not apply to people like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or your other oligarchs. They just don't.
By the way, again, this stuff is important.
Not all of them yet. Still just sitting there and watching it all. Yep.
Because one of the most important things that you can do in an environment, and
if you want the link to this one, this is Move On. You can watch the stream here. We'll check back in periodically. Hey, good for Gabby. Welcome.
a time like this is to educate yourself. Knowing what is going on is not the same thing as reading a headline, okay? Knowing how things work, political education. This stuff is important because you can't do anything if you don't know where the vulnerabilities are and understand the big picture, okay? So I'm gonna get to all of your questions, but pump the brakes, okay? Breathe. Now, once again, two areas. They're going after the money with the U.S. Treasury Department, and they're going after the people, which is OPM, Office of Personnel Management, the federal career appointees. It is normal for a president to come in and to largely dismiss a lot of the previous administration's political appointees. They have the right to do that.
The things Trump has gotten away with, was able to get away with during his court case, was absolutely disgusting. Threatening judges and prosecutors, seems like there's an issue there. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, anyone else would have been immediately, like, got for that, right? Like, anyone else doing the same thing, like borderline witness tampering, witness intimidation, like constantly tweeting about the case. I mean, like, and zero consequences at all. Like, he got, like, fined 3 times, maybe. But that's about it. That's the extent of the consequences, and to him, a fine is really nothing. FYI, this video is like 92 minutes. Oh, Jesus. Okay, I guess we should just cut our losses here. I'll repost the link to this. Because we gotta move. Thank you for pointing that out because, oh my goodness. Okay. Let's just, let's just move on. I think probably... we'll do this.
Ross Douthat interviewed New York Times. Ross Douthat interviewed Steve Bannon. Is Bannon like still an advisor to Trump?
Yeah.
He is.
I think informally just because he's still like a broadcaster mostly. He still just has his show.
Well, that didn't stop Sean Hannity.
No, certainly not.
I mean,
but the real
Stephen
question
Miller's
is
high up there. That's probably his go-between.
Yeah,
it is.
I mean, it is. Bannon has been pretty vocal that he's mad that guys like Elon Musk have pushed him out. Now, who knows, how sincere it is. But it's interesting because to the extent that there is any sort of like factions within
people don't have the attention span for 3-minute TikToks, forget about 90 minutes. Yeah, I mean, actually, I'm pretty interested in the whole conversation. But 90 minutes would be like the end of the stream. We'd be here for a while.
Trump world. It is how much should we prioritize xenophobia and how much should we prioritize kleptocracy? It really is just a question of emphasis. But this is what this exchange between Douthat and Bannon brings up is that the Democrats, and this is when people say,
build custom industrial machines in days.
Socialism is the way to fight fascism. What Bannon brings up here, and the way that he addresses even Bernie Sanders, it has to sort of struggle to find a way to undercut Sanders, and it has to actually sort of
do that. It was a live stream on Instagram. Gotcha. I think she also just recently posted it on Blue Sky.
Yeah. It exemplifies the vacuum that's been created and the space that exists for so-called right-wing populism. Because the difference between right-wing populism and left-wing populism is left-wing populism is an economic populism that extends to everyone. Right-wing populism necessarily needs to demonize an other. It could be an internal other or it could be an external other. Here is Douthat with Steve Bannon.
Trying to come to America for the sins of global finance and so on.
What red flag. It was last night. Gotcha.
Sorry, go back even further. We need to get the full Douthat question here.
And there needed to be a populist surge, but all
the way.
Bradley.
Why is it so central? And what do you say to
so just
drill down on immigration for a minute?
Second. The question up to this is Bannon saying how the 2008 financial crisis led to a bunch of working class energy into the Republican side of things.
And to be clear, part of that was, and I would take issue with the idea of Republican energy. I would say it created a nihilism because you remember Barack Obama had a choice. He could do what FDR did, which is make...
Welcome, Fomash. Bannon looking like a 2002 cigarette half lit.
Homeowners whole and have them pay the banks because they were underwater on their mortgages. Or he could ask the banks to give a break. He could pay off the banks and ask the banks to give a break to the homeowners. He did the latter because Robert Rubin and Tim Geithner basically told him to. And it turns out the banks were like, thanks for the money, but about that favor you wanted from us, we don't have to do it, and so we're not going to. And so you basically had somewhere between 2 and 4 million people lose their homes in foreclosures. And it created a lot of disaffection. On top of which, the Obama administration really had their foot on the brakes in terms of the economic recovery. So the stimulus that they had was like $1/3, was like $750 billion dollars, and a full 1/3 to a half of that was just tax cuts. So the stimulus was very slow. So we had the economy come back very, very slow. Like it took almost the entire.
That's one of his better qualities. Like, I'm sorry, folks. Like, a lot of stuff is just kind of coming in at like 200 miles an hour. You know, so I'm sorry if we're like kind of, you know, gliding all over the place. But this is kind of like breaking news that is just kind of circulating the discourse right now. Apparently Elon Musk and his quote Doge are going to target the Department of Labor next. There's supposedly a meeting between quote Doge people and the Department of Labor Management planned for tomorrow at about 4 p.m. Eastern. Apparently Department of Labor workers have been ordered to give Doge access to whatever they ask for or risks termination. So I mean, like, this is moving at a very fast pace. So I'm sorry if we're going a little bit all over the place, but I'm just seeing this now pop up on the on the feed, and yeah, it's pretty bad, folks. It's pretty bad, folks.
Hire 8 years of the Obama administration for it to even like resemble an economic comeback. Go ahead.
Could win elections and win votes.
So let's just drill down on immigration for a minute. Why is it so central? And what do you say to someone who might be on the left, who'd be listening to this conversation and would say, oh, look, you know, Bannon's absolutely right. There was a financial crisis. Wall Street got away with murder. Not literally, just to be clear, but and there needed to be a populist surge, but all being anti-immigration does is scapegoat a bunch of hardworking people trying to come to America for the sins of global finance and so on. What is the...
No, it's a reason. You just mentioned a moment ago the emerging Democratic majority. And the reason that didn't happen, and I never thought it would happen, because Bernie Sanders and all these guys that have been pro-worker and pro-union, you saw them flip. All of a sudden, they were open borders. Look, let me step back for a second. The entire post-war international rules-based order, right, all of it, Bretton Woods and all of it, the Pax Americana, is all on the shoulders of the little guy. It gets down to the shoulders of the working class and the middle class. And you can see the Democratic Party transferring into of very wealthy donors, the credential class of a bunch of people coming out of college or graduate schools, and then the plebeians. The key on immigration, and I'm anti any immigration. I want a moratorium on all immigration right now because I want American citizens to get a shot at the brass ring, which they deserve, since the entire world's economic
pause it for
system.
a second. There's a couple of stuff here. You know, the best of lies commingle with truth. And that's what Steve Bannon's doing here. Bernie Sanders is not for open borders, A, but he has to say that. And B, let's be clear. Unemployment today is lower than we were told was even possible 15, 20 years ago. Economists would say, like, there is a natural rate of unemployment, and it's around 6%. It can't really go lower than that. And it stands today still. So, like, the idea that immigrants are preventing people from getting the brass ring is
I didn't see Americans picking crops now that migrant workers aren't showing up. Yep.
absurd. Now, there is an argument that by allowing so many people to come in and work without worker protections, they're being exploited, and that trickles through the workforce. But we've had low-wage workers, in particular, their wages have popped up for the first time in years.
That's how fast homes move in this neighborhood. Come on, let me show you around.
What?
Over the past couple of years.
Why am I being shown ads for new homes? Immigrants preventing us from going to zero. Yeah.
Even relative to inflation. So his story gets a little bit like his story doesn't work in the way that he wants it to. So he's got a sort of fib here.
Yep.
Broadly speaking about the Democratic Party, he's right. This has been a dynamic that's been going on really for 30 or 40 years.
But none of that makes it okay to scapegoat immigrants.
No, but he needs to bring in, the right-wing populism needs this.
Yep.
And what does he mean by brass ring? This is my other question, where he were to do all these mass deportations and stop illegal immigration. We know. We just had Teresa Romero on for...
I mean, I don't know, man. It's just like, to me, it's kind of like a misnomer. And I think we should probably drop the farce that is right-wing populism and stop calling it right-wing populism, because that doesn't exist, right? Like, I know, colloquially speaking, I know, Sam has elaborated, but for me, from my opinion, this is my perspective. I think we just need to drop that farce because it isn't true, right? There's no such thing as right-wing populism. It doesn't exist. It is fascism, okay? That's what that is. Right-wing populism is just fascism. And I think that, it would be better for the discourse, in my opinion, to kind of just drop that label, because it just doesn't exist. There's no such thing as right-wing populism, right? Because if it was truly populist, people would want to support it, right? The reason why we even invented the misnomer of faux populism is because it is fake. As in, not real populism. So I think that it probably serves us better if we would just kind of drop that altogether. I mean, this is just my 2 cents, Yeah, fascism. So it just doesn't make any sense, and it kind of does it a little. It does fascism a little disservice here, because it is fascism. That's what it ends up being. But anyways.
From the United Farm Workers, we know that the millions of immigrants in this country who may be not undocumented are the most exploited labor force, and they take sub-minimum wages and horrible working conditions and standards that many U.S. citizens, they're not subject to that. Some are, but for the majority, if you're a U.S. citizen, then you have a little bit more rights. You are subjected to the minimum wage and that kind of thing. So even what he's talking about there, it's about beating down the little guy, the least powerful. And not challenging the fundamental structure of our society. He's just making it worse.
You don't know what brass ring means. Brass ring means being able to do asbestos abatement without a mask.
Right.
So you don't have the oppressive regime of government breathing down your boss's neck and saying, hey, you need to have proper equipment when you do asbestos abatement. That's what the brass ring is.
Right.
Makes it easier to breathe. Because you stick it down your throat and your mesothelioma is relieved. Go ahead.
At the brass ring, which they deserve, since the entire world's economic system is on their shoulders. And it's the same people whose taxes and pension money support everything, where their sons and daughters are standing watch on destroyers and carrier battle groups in the Red Sea to keep the Suez Canal open for trade to Europe. They're on patrol in the Hindu Kush. They're in Romania with the 101st Airborne. And
freedom is when no asbestos mask. Exactly. Welcome.
You know, I saw it. I served in that, and all the people on my destroyer post Vietnam in the all volunteer forces had a choice in those early years of the Navy. Were jail or the military. And my daughter later went to West Point, served, fought in Iraq.
What is he talking about? I'm sorry. He's talking about invading the Panama Canal and bombing Mexico.
He can't find a good way to say, actually, it's good that all of the energy that should be aimed at Wall Street, oh, by the way, I worked at Goldman Sachs, pretty sure with Bannon, all that energy, instead of going to Wall Street, it's going to immigrants. And he can't actually defend that, so he has to get into, oh, he was a vet and all this other bullshit. Like, anybody who can't see through this guy is just like the low fruit picker of like basically Democrats leaving.
But this is how it falls apart, because when they start to attack the billionaires, which is obviously I am in favor of, they cannot lose their narrative of the real problem is the black and brown people, and also anybody who speaks a foreign language. How about that? I'm going to concede that. Any immigrant is the problem. They can't abandon that, because fundamentally that is what is actually the engine and the motor of right-wing populism. Because if it was really about the billionaire class or the multimillionaire class or the corporate class, if it was really about that stuff, they'd have to take a step or two further to analyze why. And then all of a sudden the whole thing starts to fall apart. They can't maintain this whole notion of no winners and losers and no government regulation and all of the stuff that they want if there begins to be some analysis of who they've demonized. So they've got to very quickly transfer that anger that they will point to the billionaires.
Can you contract Orange? Master communism, true. He looks like Trump's cousin.
But what is it fundamentally the billionaires are doing? They're letting in all these black and brown immigrants or white immigrants with funny, sounding languages to undermine real Americans.
And that's why he can say Bernie Sanders is for open borders.
He has to.
Despite Bernie going after Elon on H-1Bs a month ago.
But he has to, because open borders means brackets around the name, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, when Elon Musk goes and talks to the AfD, which is a party that dabbles in Holocaust denial in Germany, and he talks about the global elite coming for you, you're the richest man on the planet. No one...
Yeah, like, I mean, this is also the same party that's literally having little Nazi powwows in Sweden because they can't do it in Germany.
Is more of a global elite than the richest man on the planet.
Get money from the Saudis.
So what do you... And so, like, it's funny, this stupid war between Musk and Bannon, because they're both, like, basically, like, white supremacists. At the end of the day, he's basically saying, even though I'm king global elite, don't look at me because I'm not a Jew. And I'm not part of the great replacement theory kind of thing. And so, like, it all falls apart once you take away the natalism and the racism and the bigotry.
When they start talking about the billionaires and like there's like someone manipulating. I mean, this has always been the nativist and the racist story, right? Like, how is it? On one hand, like, how is it that these black and brown people are able to get ahead of us in the line and take the brass ring when we also think that they are less than us in terms of their abilities? Well, the story goes is that there's some cabal of people who use and manipulate these black and brown bodies as a way of undermining the real Americans who, now let me recite a bunch of different locations where our military is to prove my Americana. they undermine those people. And who is that cabal? I don't know. It's
who would have the power to do that?
Somebody pulling the strings,
drinking blood, all that.
George Soros. I mean, that is the structure of all this. And they will go for a mile without naming who those people are pulling the strings. They'll set up the structure of that argument, and then they'll fill in the blanks later when it's time.
And if you're surprised by a certain amount of populism and creeping into Bannon's rhetoric, you might also be surprised by the name of the National Socialist Party. The entire reason the Nazis and all the capitalists that supported the Nazis did that was because capitalism was discredited. That's the only reason.
All right, let's. This was really encouraging. Now I know you're a fan. Like I know you've talked about.
Oh yes.
Chappelle Roan.
Would you like me to take this, Sam? Because it's not. You didn't even.
Please.
You've already messed up.
I did recognize the name.
Dave Chappelle Roan.
And I was like, wait a second. He did. Did he win a Grammy too?
No.
Didn't Chappelle?
Sam having a boomer moment.
Comedy one? I think he did.
But okay, well, for not best new artist, Dave's been around the block, and Chappell also on the red carpet was saying how much trans people deserve our support. So she's not like Dave in more ways.
Well, wait,
than one.
what was the controversy with her a couple months ago? Because
she basically had said that she's not going to endorse Kamala Harris, but she's going to vote for her, and this caused the entire resistance liberal ecosystem to freak out on the week that I was supposed to go see her in New York City, and she canceled her show. So I hold them all. I hold them all directly responsible for this because I had been looking forward to.
I didn't realize is that she canceled her show, and B, it does turn out that Dave Chappelle coincidentally did win a comedy Grammy this year.
Well, there you go. But Chappell is just like such an exciting artist in so many ways. One, because she comes from like small town America, does not come from wealth. I think she grew up in like an evangelical background, but she's a lesbian and she speaks out about LGBTQ issues quite a bit, and is just like supremely talented and uses her platform regularly to stand up for people who are marginalized, but also workers just generally. And when she was accepting her very deserved award last night for Best New Artist, she decided to talk about how labels exploit artists and called them out to their faces, which was very satisfying.
Simple Minds, Alive and Kicking Tour 2025.
She picks up her Grammy off the floor. Pretty awesome.
Sorry, Emma, I forgot to edit the Taylor Swift.
Thank you for the billionaire standing up for that. But I just don't let me go down that road. Happy she was supportive of that. But like, remember when we played that video from More Perfect Union about the guys from Love is Blind, and how exploited they were on a reality show? These kinds of things are just like so important, whether it's athletes or artists, because it breaks through this mythology, or actors, writers, like with the strikes with over the past few years, right, for actors and writers. Like, it breaks through this mythology that these are all elites and millionaires and people who have all of this, like, these rights. They are still workers. Even if you're a millionaire athlete, you're still making a wage, and you still don't own the means of production. You don't own the label. You're not the one dispensing money to others. You're receiving a paycheck. Like, that's where solidarity really begins. And she's pointing out there's maybe, Hollywood's exploitative, the music industry, labels. I mean, there is some horrible exploitation that goes on there because there's so few seats.
Yeah, like actually, like music labels in particular are incredibly predatory. Not everyone in entertainment is a performer star who gets residuals. Yep.
So, and they just prey on people's dreams, and that's where some of this can get as, horrific as she describes. I just love her so much. She's so great.
And so she's a musician, is that it?
Yes.
She plays rock music?
She's a wonderful singer, pop,
I don't.
camp singer. Yeah.
Come on, Sam, get with the times, okay?
industry that
I'm ignoring you.
Any industry that people dream that they want to be in, you can guarantee that if there aren't a lot of labor protections there, it is going to be ripe for massive amounts of abuse. You see this all the time in music, like Kesha and dealing with producers and stuff like that. I mean, the Diddy stuff, like, yes, this is absolutely a really important thing for her to say.
I mean, you see this all the time, even in online like media and things like that.
Sam just wants to be cool with the kids.
Like, it's really difficult for people to get their starts. And like, for example, this was my dream to do this kind of thing. And there are a lot of people who aren't as lucky, who like didn't, get a job offer by you or something like that, where like, that's why I wanted to shout out Francesca, and I will be on the show tomorrow. But it's hard out there. It's hard out there.
It can't be up to industries to do healthcare. That is shame on our political system that she can't afford healthcare during a pandemic. Thanks Pelosi for Cobra.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
First rule of signing a recording contract: never sign the first contract they give, and have a good lawyer with music background review the contract and explain it to you. Yep. Specifically with like the music industry, yeah. I mean, like, that's the kind of stuff like you really want a lawyer to look at, or authors. All right, folks, let's speed run through some of these here. So Trump promised on the campaign trail that he was going to attempt to dismantle the education department, and it looks like he's definitely going to try. As Trump considers way to dismantle the education department, here's what we know about this, what to do about the student loans, because that's kind of a question that a lot of people have had in the air once word that this was serious and not just like rhetoric. More people have become concerned about what's going to happen. No, your loans are not going to be forgiven. No, your loans are not going to go away. Most likely they will be just handled by another department. With the Trump administration looking for ways to close parts or all of the Department of Education, many of the country's 42 million federal students, like what will happen though, is anyone going forward trying to get any federal assistance for higher education, that's all kind of open. That's all kind of up in the air. Going forward, because they were assuming that they do all of this, the programs that helped people. We don't really know what's going to happen with that. So yeah, many of the country's 42 million federal student loan borrowers are likely feeling on edge. One of the education department's functions is underwriting the loans that enable millions of people each year to attend college and graduate school. It also administers the country's $1.6 trillion outstanding education debt tab. The Operation Enduring Clusterfuck is a go. Quote, the anxiety levels are pretty high for borrowers right now, said Betsy Mayette, the president of the Institute of Student Loan Advisors, a nonprofit that helps borrowers navigate the repayment of the debt. Closing the agency would require an act of Congress. Okay, but like we've already established that like no, they don't give a shit about any of this. So still, the Trump administration officials are considering an executive order that could halt parts of the agency. The Wall Street Journal reported on Monday. On the campaign trail, President Trump said shuttering the department would be a priority. The president plans to fulfill a campaign promise by reevaluating the future of the Department of Education, said the White House spokesperson. So Life, welcome. They control the Treasury. Right. Yep. Yep. Former President Jimmy Carter established the Department of Education in 1979, and since then, the department has faced other existential threats, with former President Ronald Reagan calling for its end, and Trump during its first term attempting to merge it with the Labor Department. Efforts by the Trump administration to dismantle the Education Department will likely face criticism. To that point, 61% of likely voters say they oppose the Trump administration's use of an executive order to abolish the Education Department, according to a poll conducted by Data for Progress. Well, good thing that Trump doesn't really give a crap about what, quote, likely voters care about. On behalf of the Student Borrower Protection Center and Groundwork Collaborative, just 34% of respondents approve of such a move. Of course, it's usually that percentage. The survey of 1,294 people is conducted from January 31st to February 2nd. Here's what the possible changes for the department could mean for student loan borrowers. Even if the Department of Education no longer existed, student loan debt would still be due. Just because the entity that manages the loan changes in no way changes the terms of the loan. For example, mortgage companies often get sold to other companies, and millions of loan borrowers have recently had their accounts transferred to another service. The Treasury Department would be the next most logical agency to administer student debt, which currently has been seized by Elon Musk. Why haven't we been hearing anything about how green card applications aren't being accepted on or after January 20th? I mean, it's all happening so fast, and like it's like a scattershot of stuff. Like, I didn't even know about that, Dan, anonymously. It's been so difficult to keep up with like just how chaotic and horrible things have been, that like stuff like this is just going to get it just gets left under the radar. It's also possible that the Justice Department or the Department of Labor could carry out some of the Education Department's functions, according to a blog post by the National Association of Student Finance Aid Administrators. That's stopping people from becoming citizens legally. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, the situation's kind of screwed, Dan, anonymously. Meanwhile, some Republicans have expressed interest in privatizing the federal student loan system. Higher education expert Mark Kantrowitz has said this prospect worries consumer advocates, who point out that students need extra protections that are not required of private lenders. The federal student loan system is already plagued by problems, said Michelle Zampini, the senior director of college affordability at the Institute for College Access and Success. Transferring the student loan accounts to tens of millions of people to another agency would only make things worse. Borrowers and students need more stability, and this would create chaos. That is the name of the game. My friend's daughter got a green card application in on January 19th. She never lived in Mexico and has lived here since 1 month old. Jesus. When the Department of Education administers school funding power transferred to the Treasury. On a side note, they could probably stop the Inflation Reduction Act, CHIPS Act. Yep. Yeah, I mean, they could do whatever they want at this point. The administration is doing shock and awe, just massive amounts of EOs that have to be fought while Doge runs roughshod over the institutions. Right. Yep. I mean, Steve Bannon talked about this. He explained it, how, that's why you hear people talk about flooding the zone. Those are Steve Bannon's words. So, yeah. New and current students who rely on financial aid for college could likely experience delays if the Education Department is partially or fully shut down. That would be a major problem for families. People can't go to college without student loans, unfortunately. Kantrowitz agreed disruption is bad, very bad. During a transition, federal student aid might not be available for weeks or longer. So, yep. Seems like the broadcast for the rally has ended. Meanwhile, while everybody's trying to also, like, again, it doesn't mean let's, what I'm trying to say is that there's so many freaking massive fires going on at the same time. It's really difficult. But, like, while all this is happening, this is also happening. Holy City, welcome. Are you on Blue Sky? Yes. Follow me. Follow me on Blue Sky. Or today they installed something to the Treasury system. Spyware is my guess. Remote admin software. Yeah, I mean, like, this is totally beyond anything we've ever seen. This is needless to say, highly illegal. I mean, well, you don't need me to say that. It's just wild. Pick a fire and piss on it. Do what you can. Exactly. The Trump administration sends first group of migrant detainees to Guantanamo Bay. Yep. So yeah, that was pretty quickly, folks. Concentration camp is up and running, and it only took 2.5 weeks. The U.S. government is moving quickly to implement President Trump's order to turn facilities at the Guantanamo Bay Naval Base into a large-scale concentration camp, sending the first group of migrant detainees there on Tuesday. Last week, Trump instructed his administrators to dramatically extend the detention space inside the naval base to detain as many as 30,000, quote, high-priority unauthorized immigrants with criminal records, question mark. Since then, officials across the government, including Department of Defense, State, and Homeland Security, have scrambled to implement the president's directive. On Tuesday afternoon, a plane carrying 10 migrant detainees departed from Fort Bliss near the Texas border for Guantanamo Bay, multiple U.S. Officials told CBS. Two officials said the migrants were classified as a, quote, high-threat detainees who would be held in cells inside the naval base. One of the officials said they were Venezuelan men affiliations with Tren de Aragua, a gang that originated in Venezuela's prisons. Is that true? I don't know. We don't even know who those people are that are being sent. That thing was ready to go this whole time. Not completely, but there's not like they're sending a lot of people, but yeah. A U.S. official said they would likely be sent to the naval base in the future, would be unauthorized immigrants arrested by ICE, the Gestapo, the agency at the center of President's vow to oversee largest deportation efforts in American history. The agency ramped up immigration operations across the country under Mr. Trump, averaging 800 to 1,000 daily arrests in the past week, up from the 312 in former President Biden's final year. On the past several days, there has been an internal debate about whether Pentagon or DHS would have legal and physical custody over migrant detainees and what sort of legal rights they would have. Well, if they're going to Guantanamo, the presumption is none. For decades, the Guantanamo base has included a facility known as the Migrant Operations Center, where U.S. immigrations have screened some asylum seekers intercepted at sea. That area is separate from Guantanamo Bay's detention center, the post-9/11 military prison, where the U.S. holds more than a dozen terrorism suspects. A relatively small number of migrants are housed in a barracks-like facility while they undergo interviews with asylum officers. Asylum seekers who pass those initial interviews have been referred to resettlement in third countries like Australia and Canada. The U.S. has long had a policy of not allowing those caught at sea to seek asylum in the U.S. in order to deter maritime migration. After Mr. Trump's recent directive, the U.S. officials have been setting up tent facilities to hold migrants in Guantanamo Bay outside the Migrant Operations Center, as the new detainees are not expected to be held in that facility. So, yeah. A concentration camp. In the early 1990s, the Clinton administration held thousands of Haitian migrants inside Guantanamo Bay, including a notorious camp for those diagnosed with HIV who were banned from entering the U.S. at the time. While visiting the southwest border on Monday, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth called Guantanamo Bay the perfect place to hold hardened criminals, question mark. Where are you going to put Tren Aragua before you send them all the way back? How about a maximum security prison at Guantanamo Bay where they have the space? I thought that these people were too dangerous to deport back to the country. So, yeah. Anyways, so, yeah, this is happening. Folks, remember when I said it's not going to be just illegal immigrants, question mark? U.S. citizens are also eligible. Don't worry, folks. they're going after U.S. citizens too. Marco Rubio says El Salvador has offered to accept deportees from U.S. of any nationality, including Americans. The world's coolest dictator has said that he is welcome. That he would welcome any prisoners, any convicted criminal. So that's cool. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio left El Salvador on Tuesday with an agreement from the country's president to accept deportees from the U.S. of any nationality, including violent American criminals now imprisoned in the United States. President Bukele, again, world's coolest dictator, something he himself has put in his bio, agreed to the most unprecedented, extraordinary migratory agreement anywhere in the world, Rubio said after the meeting with Bukele at his lakeside country house outside San Salvador for several hours late Monday. Wouldn't the criminal immigrants already be in jail if our legal system was working? Yep. Like, this is just next level. So they let the violent criminals back on the street already? No, this is just a front, for the concentration camps. Their premise makes no sense. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. They're just rounding up the undesirable people in their eyes. Yep. Been deep in surgeries today. Did you see, did the Senate confirm any of the idiots today? No. So what's been happening with RFK, presumably that's what you're referencing. What's been happening with RFK and Tulsi Gabbard is that seemingly they have made their inner committee vote along party lines. They've made through that, but like the actual general confirmation vote has not happened. So that remains to be seen. But it is expected. I mean, like, the way things are going, like, why not? Why not add more chaos? Right? Why not? Shock and awe, exactly. Quote, we can send them and he will put them in his jails, Rubio said of migrants of all nationalities detained in the U.S. And he's also offered to do the same for dangerous criminals currently in custody and serving their sentence in the U.S., even though they're a U.S. citizen or legal residents. Hey, real quick, what are the rules and sounds in El Salvador with regards to how their prison system works? Because that sounds like this dude is looking for some slave labor. Rubio is visiting El Salvador to press a friendly government to do more to meet President Trump's demand for a major crackdown on immigration. Bukele confirmed the offer in a post on Twitter, saying El Salvador has offered the U.S. The opportunity to outsource part of its prison system. He said his country would accept only convicted criminals that would charge a fee that would be relatively low for the U.S. but significant for us, and making our entire prison system, quote, sustainable. Elon Musk, the billionaire working with Trump, made to remake the federal government, responded to his Twitter platform, quote, great idea. American citizens get Netflix in their cells. Shock and awe. I heard like shock and awe. Images from Midnight Express come to mind. If he gets confirmed, get any vaccines you need, as he will then as he will get them viewed as not medically necessary, and thus your insurance will not pay for it. Yep. After Rubio spoke, a U.S. official said Trump's Republican administration had no current plans to try to deport American citizens, but called Bukele's offer significant. Right? Let's just get all these, criminals, say like protesters, because as Trump has alluded to, he would like to deport people protesting genocide, from people protesting the Palestinian genocide, So maybe those people would be eligible. Those undesirables, the opposition, will be eligible to be deported to El Salvador. The State Department describes El Salvador's overcrowded prisons as harsh and dangerous. On its current in its current country information webpage, it says in many facilities, provisions for sanitation, potable water, ventilation, temperature control, and lighting are inadequate or non-existent. El Salvador has lived under a state of emergency since March of 2022, when the country's powerful street gangs went on a killing rampage. Bukele responded by suspending fundamental rights like access to lawyers, and authorities have arrested more than 83,000 people with little to no process. So, cool, man. Fantastic. Shock and awe, everybody. Shock and awe. That's all I want to do. Deported foreign students will go back to their home countries, I expect. Or end up in Guantanamo. You know. Who knows? Or end up in El Salvador. You know. I don't know. It's all up in the air because he said that he would accept any convicted criminal of any nationality. They don't have to be deported to their home country or whatever. They could just be deported to this massive prison that Bukele has done. In 2023, Bukele opened a massive new prison with capacity for 40,000, quote, gang members and boasted about serving only one meal per day. Prisoners there do not receive visits, and there are no programs preparing them for reinsertion to society after their sentences, and no workshops or educational programs. So no actual remedy to the fundamental problem that is feeding the organized crimes at all, which is poverty. So cool. El Salvador was once one of the most dangerous countries in the world. Closed last year with a record low 114 homicides. A newfound security has propelled Bukele's soaring popularity in the country of about 6 million residents. Yeah, they only had to give up, their fundamental rights and be subject to arrest without any evidence. You don't have access to a lawyer. But hey, and also not addressing the fundamental problem. So what are you going to do with these people once they complete their sentences? Rubio has arrived in San Salvador shortly after watching a U.S.-funded deportation flight with 43 migrants leave from Panama to Colombia. That came a day after Rubio delivered a warning to Panama that unless the government moved immediately to eliminate China's presence at the Panama Canal, the U.S. would act to do so. Migration, though, was the main issue of the day, as it will be for the next stop on Rubio's 5-nation Central America tour of Costa Rica, Guatemala, and Dominican Republic after Panama and El Salvador. His tour is taking place at a time of turmoil in Washington over the status of the government's main foreign development agency. Trump's administration prioritizes stopping people from making the journey to the U.S. and has worked with regional countries to boost immigration enforcement on their border walls, to accept deportees from the United States. The agreement Rubio described for El Salvador to accept foreign nationals arrested in the U.S. for violating the immigration law known as the Safe Third Country Agreement. Officials have suggested this might be an option for Venezuelan gang members convicted of crimes in the U.S. should Venezuela refuse to accept them. But Rubio said Bukele's offer was for detainees of any nationality. Sounds like South Central Los Angeles, no police rights if you are a POC. Yep. Rubio said Bukele then went further and said his country was willing to accept and to jail U.S. citizens or legal residents convicted and imprisoned for violent crimes. Human rights activists have warned that El Salvador lacks a consistent policy for the treatment of asylum seekers and refugees, and that such an agreement might not be limited to violent criminals, which is, yeah. Manuel Flores, Secretary General of the leftist opposition party Farabundo Marti National Liberation Front, criticized the Safe Third Country plan, saying it would signal that the region is Washington's backyard to dump the garbage. After meeting with Bukele, Rubio signed a memorandum of understanding with his Salvadorian counterpart to advance U.S.-El Salvador civil and nuclear cooperation. The document could lead to a more formal deal on cooperation in nuclear power and medicine that the U.S. has with several other countries. While Rubio was out of the U.S., staffers at the U.S. Agency for International Development were instructed on Monday to stay out of the agency's Washington headquarters after Musk announced that Trump has agreed with him to shut the agency. Thousands of U.S. aid employees have already been laid off and programs shut down. Rubio told reporters in San Salvador that he was now acting administrator of USAID, but has delegated that authority, so he would not be running its day-to-day operations. That change means USAID is no longer an independent government agency as it had been for decades, although its new status will likely be challenged in court and will be run out by the State Department will be run out of the State Department by department officials. In his remark, Rubio stresses that some and perhaps many USAID programs would continue in the new configuration, but that the switch was necessary because the agency had become unaccountable to the executive branch in Congress, ? If it wasn't for my Twitch chat family, I think I would lose my mind, and I'm so glad I'm not alone. I work with Trumpers, and it's difficult to keep my mouth shut, and I keep getting into drama. Yeah, well, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I work at home and my roommates hate Republicans and Dems. I know it's not me, y'all seem great to me. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, like, it's a matter of, like, why they hate the Democrats, right? Because, like, you know, and why they hate the Republicans. I think that matters. Just be safe. You're to good to anyone injured or fired. That's wise advice. I like some Dems. I don't hate them, but I argue more with libs. I wasn't allowed to condemn Biden. Yeah, well, that's kind of like a that's fine if you're angry with the Democratic Party for those reasons, because I think that a lot of us are pretty frustrated at them leadership or lack thereof. But like, if you like, I'm not speaking about you specifically, but like, it just depends on why you're angry at the Democratic Party. Because if you just have like some bad faith criticisms and those criticisms never end up with like, oh, but just to be clear, like, we need to deal with these fascists, right? Then like, yeah, I kind of get suspect. I didn't like Biden, and since I voted for him, I can say whatever I want about him. I mean, even if you didn't, to be quite frank, the point stands that like there's a lot of problems with that campaign and that administration. I think there's a lot of good faith criticism about what happened there. We should Google something. No, the only thing we're Googling is me signing off. All right, folks, it's time for me to get out of here. Thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate it. Thank you for your support, and thank you for being here. My vote wasn't for him; it was against Trump. Yeah, it's kind of how a lot of people felt, including myself. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. You guys are what makes this channel go. Thank you. Yes, good luck tomorrow. Thank you. Folks, tomorrow there's no stream, as I will be in that protest. So thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your follows, for your subscriptions, all that stuff. If you're on the YouTube, keep liking the stream and subscribe. Okay. I know that, quite a handful of you have already done so recently. Thank you. Hey, Zachap, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Well, Zachap's here, so might as well give him a quick shout out. And, if you want to support the channel, I'm bored. Well, hang tight, folks. Ride the raid wave. What's new? The usual existential dread that is looming towards us. The raid wave, yes. Yes, just hang tight. Hang tight for the raid. Hey, stole Pac-Man's background. No. Pac-Man stole mine. Thank you guys for hanging. I appreciate it. We'll be back on Thursday. We'll be back on Thursday. Thank you. Thank you to the YouTube crew. I appreciate it. Keep spreading the word, folks, and keep subscribing. As always, folks, we'll be here. Usually the stream is on Monday through Thursday about 5 p.m. Tomorrow there's no stream. If you want to support the channel, there are many different ways of doing so. Keep liking the stream. Head on over to the Discord if you want to keep up with the channel. And if you want to support directly, consider checking out the merch store and hitting !tip. Thank you all. Thank you, Michael Hassler, for modding the chat. I appreciate it. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Alvion, I hope to see you guys in the next one Thursday, folks, about 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya! Hang tight, folks. Hang tight. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.